Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is another teamwork build. We're going to be using my favorite rogue racket for this build, the Mastermind. We're also going to be using the Overwatch archetype from Guns and Gears. Let's get into it. Unfortunately, in the beginning of this build, we were not going to have enough charisma to run our own criminal empire. That means this build probably starts off as a mook working for Dawn. However, we're smart enough to eventually engineer that Dawn's downfall and take over his empire ourselves. So your skill feats should reflect that. However, since we're going to have to be a mook for a while, our rogue feats are going to be more engineered toward combat. We eventually want to be the person behind the scenes running everything. But since we're starting out as a mook, we're going to need to be able to defend ourselves as well. Plus, when we are the person behind the scenes, we're still going to have to meet with people. That means risking betrayal. But our rogue feats will help us defend ourselves and our allies against betrayal. That is generally the one weakness of people that run things behind the scenes. They can't really defend themselves. But with this build, we'll be running things a long time. And when we're running things, our mooks will trust us because we're helping them out, instead of just treating them like disposable pawns. Our ancestry for this build is going to be an Aphorite human. Aphorite has a lot of feats that will help us with information gathering, and one feat that will help us stay the boss for longer. Our base ancestry is going to be human for two particular ancestry feats. One that will help us help out our mooks when we're the boss, and help our party when we're the mook trying to become the boss. Plus, being half lawful outsider is just so ironic for this build, it's hilarious. Our background for this build is going to be the Clockwork Researcher. The Eye for Numbers feat will help us make sure that everyone gets their fair cut of the ill-gotten gains once we're the boss. The starting stats for this build should be Strength 10, Dexterity 14, Constitution 10, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 12. Alright, our first class feat for this build is going to be Trap Finder. Because, we're smart. We shouldn't fall into traps easily. This will give us a +1 to Perception, AC, and saves against traps. Plus we can find traps even when we're not searching. For our second level feat, we want to take Underhanded Assault. This will allow us to sneak up on our enemies while they're being distracted by our allies, even if they're currently observing us. This could allow us to take a hostage if we need to. We're going to want to recall knowledge to get our sneak attack thanks to our Mastermind Racket. Battle Assessment will give us knowledge about our enemies even if we fail on our recall knowledge. It won't give us our sneak attack, but it will give us information, and that's what's important for this build. That's another reason why we're taking Underhanded Assault as well. At 6th, we're going to take Gang Up. Now we don't need the position of flanking to actually have flanking. Now we have flanking as long as ourselves and an ally are within melee reach of an enemy. That means allies don't have to flank with us in order for us to get our sneak attack from flanking. They can flank with a different ally, and we'd still have flanking. Inspired Stratagem is one of the best teamwork feats I've ever seen at level 8. Any rogue can take this, and nobody does. If you have room for it in any rogue build, you should take it. But for this build in particular, it actually makes sense for us to have it. With this feat, all you have to do is make a plan using 10 minutes at the start of your daily preparations. Then each ally, that's right, you heard me, each ally, gets essentially advantage from 5e, which is roll twice and take the better result, on a skill check or an attack roll once per day. You are using your reaction to do this. Think about giving a fighter reroll twice and take the better result on his first attack of a round. Or even his second. As if fighters don't already have a ridiculous chance to crit. But this gives them even more. And it doesn't just work for fighters either. It works for all of your allies. Assuming a standard party. Granted, it doesn't work for you. But it does work for everybody else. Why nobody takes this feat is beyond me. Methodological Debilitations is a great feat at level 10. This will give us more options with our Debilitating Strike. Now we can prevent an enemy from flanking or being used to flank, or we can take away their bonus from raising a shield, lesser cover, or standard cover. With this option, they do still gain a +2 bonus for greater cover, but that's it. So basically, we can either prevent an enemy from giving the flat-footed condition due to flanking, or we can make it easier for our allies to hit someone that has cover or is raising a shield. Feats like this are what make Debilitating Strike so good. Alright, so at level 12, we'll finally take our Overwatch dedication. This is going to give us an Overwatch field of 30 feet. Ourselves and all of our allies that are within this Overwatch field are going to gain certain benefits, starting with a +2 to initiative rolls if they use Perception. Forewarn will allow us to use a reaction once a minute. We can use this reaction whenever an ally is attacked by an enemy and both are within our Overwatch fields. With this reaction, the enemy's attack targets our Perception DC instead of the ally's AC. This of course means that any penalties to the ally's AC will not apply. Of course, anything like sneak attack that goes off conditions will still apply. Keep in mind, by this point, we're legendary in Perception. So we can essentially give the wizard the same AC as a 4 dex, no armor champion once per minute, which is basically once per combat. The GM thinks he's going to knock the wizard unconscious. Yeah, try hitting AC 36 and see what you think then. Next we have Wide Overwatch. This will increase our Overwatch field from a 30-foot emanation to a 60-foot emanation. This effectively means that our allies are almost always going to be in our Overwatch field, which means they'll always gain the benefits of it. Now we come to the home stretch in the last 2 feats. At level 18, we want to take Control Tower. This is going to help our party against creatures that want to be sneaky, kind of like us. This will give our entire party a +2 bonus to seek undetected or hidden creatures within our Overwatch fields. Also, none of our allies within our Overwatch field will have to make flat checks to target concealed creatures. And the cherry on top, if creatures still happen to be hidden, but we can target them, the DC is only 5. So enemies, good luck hiding from the party. And for the final class feat for this build, I've got an uncommon one for you guys. Enduring debilitations will let our debilitations from Debilitating Strike last for 1 minute instead of for 1 round. So when we stop our enemy from flanking, they can't flank or be used to flank for the rest of the combat, rather than just for that 1 round. Alright, time to talk about general feats. The first one we want to take is, of course, Canny Acumen for our lowest save, which is going to be Fortitude. Then we want to take Ancestral Paragon, and what we want to take is Cooperative Nature. This feat is pretty simple, just +4 on checks to aid. I did a video on why aid is a lot better than people think, so you can go check that out up in the card. Then of course we want to take Die Hard in Toughness, so we don't die. And finally, we're going to be legendary in Perception, so we might as well take Expeditious Search. This will allow us to eventually search areas 4 times as quickly as normal. We're not taking True Perception here, because we're taking an Ancestry feat that's very similar. Our first Ancestry feat for this build is going to be Axiomatic Lore. Because, being trained in every single skill at level 1 is really, really good. That's right, if you didn't know, Intelligence-based Rogue plus any Lore Ancestry feat equals trained in every single skill at level 1. And we definitely want that, so that's why we're taking this feat. Next we have Lemma of Vision. Like I said before, we're going to be a mook for a while. That means sneaking around and stealing stuff. We don't want to have to light a match and let everyone know we're there if we're in a dark place. So this will give us Dark Vision to help us out with that. Cooperative Soul is just a direct upgrade to Cooperative Nature. Now when we aid, as long as we're an expert or greater in the skill we're using, we cannot fail or critically fail on aid checks. Analyze Information will give us Hypercognition as a Divine Innate spell once a day. Hypercognition once a day on a build that's all about gaining and using information? Come on, of course we're taking this. And our last Ancestry feat for this build is going to be Channel the God Mind. For 2 actions, we can gain 60-foot precise motion sense, the ability to see invisible creatures, and the effects of a 9th level True Seeing. We gain all of these effects for 1 minute. It's a once per day thing, but that's all we really need. This is kind of our last ditch effort to find hidden creatures, if there are any. If we run into enemies that can somehow still be hidden from our Overwatch fields, this will allow us to see them, if we can hear them. Which if there are any, we're probably going to be able to hear them unless they're very good at stealth. Because we'll be legendary in perception and have a good wisdom score. Plus, when we're the boss, we're inevitably going to run into people that are going to want to take our seat from us. We're going to be legendary in perception, so if they try to sneak around, we're probably going to at least hear them. And if we can't see them because they're invisible, we can spend 2 actions to see them. Then they get what's coming to them. Before we go any further, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and hit that like button. And while you're down there, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, you can check out the links in the description, including my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Patreon. Pledge to me on Patreon, and you can get some cool character sheets for this build, as well as others that I've done. I also have a brand new subreddit you can check out. There you can talk to me and other people about anything we cover on this channel. Anyway, there's one more thing I want to cover for this video, and that is the free archetype. If you're playing through Strength of Thousands, like I am with a similar build to this, or if you've got free archetype for some other reason, the wizard archetype is a perfect addition to this build. For spells, you're not going to have too many spells, so you want to focus on one school of magic. That school of magic is really up to you. But if you're looking for a recommendation, I recommend Divination. Divination just makes this build so much better at gathering and using information. However, any school of magic would really help this build. If you want to protect your allies, go with Abjuration. If you want a flanking partner, go with Conjuration. Want to debuff your enemies? Go with Enchantment. Want to take advantage of enemies' elemental weaknesses? Evocation is the way to go. Illusion will help you get more debilitating strikes. If you want to debuff enemies and get a flanking partner, go with Necromancy. And Transmutation will help you with other buffs besides just protection ones. That's the great thing about this build. Your character is smart enough to take advantage of any school of magic that you pick for your spells. You could pick a bunch of different schools of magic, but you're probably better off just picking one school of magic and sticking with it, because you're not going to have as many spells as a full wizard. That being said, generally you're going to want to take the same feats for your free archetype, no matter what spells you end up picking. So let's get into those. So of course, we're going to want to take Basic, Expert, and Master Wizard spellcasting. It's pretty obvious why we want to take these feats. More spells, and higher level spells at that. We want to take these feats as soon as we have access to them. So that's 4th, 12th, and 18th level. We'll also want to take Basic Arcana for Conceal Spell. Again, pretty obvious. There are some situations when we don't want our enemies to know that we're casting spells, especially if we choose Illusion as our main school. We'll also want to take Arcane School Spell, and we're going to want to pick whichever school is our main school. Arcane Breath will give us more spells, so that's always good to take. And finally, we're going to want to take Advanced Arcana 3 times. The first feat we want to take for Advanced Arcana is Silent Spell. This is just a direct upgrade to Conceal Spell, so we're taking it for the same reason that we took Conceal Spell. Then we want to take Advanced School Spell. All the focus spells under this feat are really good for teamwork, and that's why we want to take this. And finally, we want to take Advanced Arcana for Quickened Casting. Sometimes we'll want to be able to cast a spell, move, and attack in one round. With Quickened Casting, we'll be able to do that once a day. Please note that you do not have to play an evil character to play this build. Everything that we picked for this build works equally well no matter what alignment you are. However, it is probably better if you pick something other than a lawful alignment. I could definitely see someone playing in a lawful alignment with this build, but for what this build is supposed to do, it's probably better if you're chaotic or neutral. That being said, this build does have a particular play style. If you want to play a character that can hit things for loads of damage, this isn't the build for you. But if you want to be the guy who always has information up his sleeve, this is most definitely one you should try out. Alright guys, if you want to see more build videos like this, you can check out these videos here. Remember, teamwork is vital, and I'll see you guys next time.